Hi, welcome to Superintendent Salutes, the MATV cable show that highlights the great work we do in and out of the Malden Public Schools every single day. Hi, I'm Superintendent of Schools John O'Terry, and welcome to our December 2018 show. Today I'm joined by three outstanding student leaders and achievers at Malden High School. To my left, I have Senior Birukti Tsige, and to my right, I have Senior Michelle Chan, and next to her, we have Pedro Carneiro Passos. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, you three are incredibly gifted, talented young people here, and you also have some great news because all three of you are major scholarship recipients. Is that correct?
Yes.
Pedro, why don't we tell folks about what scholarship you've received?
So, for me, I got a scholarship through Posse, and I got into Bucknell, which is in Pennsylvania.
Terrific. So you were a Posse scholarship recipient, which is essentially a full 4-year scholarship, more or less?
Yes.
And they typically are schools kind of in the Northeast. Although, Michelle, you are also a Posse scholarship.
Yes.
And why don't you tell our audience where you're going?
Yes, I am also a Posse scholar, and I got it for Center in Danville, Kentucky.
In Danville, so a little further away.
A little bit further away.
Many of our Posse scholarships are in New England, the Northeast, Pennsylvania, New York, but you're going all the way to Kentucky. Terrific. And we'll get back to that process in just a second, but Birukti, why don't you talk about you have received which scholarship?
So I received the Questbridge Scholarship, which to Stanford University.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. It's a full ride to Stanford, everything covered. So
that's terrific. So congratulations to all three of you. You've really done a remarkable job and done yourself proud and Malden proud as well. Let's talk about the Posse Scholarship itself. Michelle, why don't you talk about what got you interested in it and why you decided to apply?
I was actually nominated by a former Posse scholar. She just graduated from Hamilton.
Oh, wow.
This year. Her name is Sarah Zyberg.
Okay.
And I'm very close with their family. And she actually nominated me for Posse through the alumni portal.
Terrific. Pedro, how about you? How did you find out about it? Because you, if I'm not mistaken, you started off in Medford, correct?
Yeah.
So you didn't do all 4 years in Malden necessarily.
No. My first year, my freshman year actually, was in Brazil.
Oh, wow.
I did it in Brazil. And then my sophomore year, I went to Medford. And then my junior year, I came to Malden.
So you've really had 3 high schools in 4 years.
Yes.
Wow.
And then Miss Craven, my counselor,
she
let me know about Posse and everything. And she actually told me to focus on Bucknell.
Okay.
Like since the beginning. So my focus was really in Bucknell.
So do you know what you want to study at Bucknell?
Yeah, engineering.
Engineering. It's known for its engineering.
Yes.
I had, in my previous position in Somerville, I had a couple students who were Posse winners to Bucknell. I'd be more than happy to put you in touch with them. They really loved it there. So Posse also, they look for kids that are typically underrepresented at their campus and schools. So that must have been great for you, both of you, to fulfill that.
Yeah.
Correct. I'm sure your families are very proud.
Yes.
Terrific. Are you both the first in your family to go to college, or?
In my case, no.
No?
My mom went to college.
Your mom did. That's great.
My dad too.
Terrific.
Yeah, both of my parents went to college, but it was in the Philippines.
Okay.
Yes.
So you first here in America. That's good. And same with your folks went in Brazil?
Mm-hmm.
Birukti, why don't you talk about the Questbridge Scholarship?
So the Questbridge Scholarship, their motto is basically for low-income, high-achieving students.
Okay.
So since the beginning, I knew like I wouldn't be able to compete with like the students who went to prep schools or private schools. But I did have something that I really cared about my education. I really cared about my future, but I didn't have the resources to fulfill it the way that other students might have. So this scholarship really stood out to me when I found out about it. So I applied, and I got it.
Okay, you said you can't compete. You can't compete with their resources, maybe.
Yeah.
You can compete with anyone. I've seen your presentation. You will be, I think I said it, you'll be on the Supreme Court someday, is my guess. I don't know if that's the field you're going to go into, but I think that's the type of impact you have. all of you, I think, are very poised in what you do. Talk about the interview process. Birukti, how was the Questbridge one? Then we'll get over here to my right and talk about Posse.
So there was actually no interviews for me. Like some of the finalists, they got interviews to see like to certain schools, but I don't think maybe they didn't have enough people to come here, especially Stanford's California.
Yep.
I don't think they had enough people in the Northeast. I didn't get an interview. I thought that might have meant something, like I didn't get in, but incredibly, yeah, I did.
Well,
so.
I mean, it's highly competitive. I think I remember how many thousands of students apply, and they narrow it right down. So they obviously saw what we saw in you too. The Posse Scholarship's a bit different, isn't it? It's local, correct? And you're kind of in with a cohort of schools around here, like Somerville and Everett and Lynn and places like that. And it's a bit of a team building kind of.
Oh, yes.
So it's not the traditional interview of tell us about you, and maybe they give you a couple scenarios. What describe that team building, Michelle? Why don't you take the first crack at that?
Oh, it is a very non-traditional process. The first round, it's a lot of team building activities. So it's a lot of working with the people you're technically competing with, but it's also a lot of fun. Like when you get into the interview process, like you kind of forget that you're in an interview, and the nerves just go away.
That's great.
Yeah.
Pedro, did you find it the same way?
So yes, so the first round I think was the hardest for me because I'm very shy, so like I don't talk that much, and they had out those groups, like I thought it was like 100 people, and they separated like 10 groups of 10. So I don't talk that much, and I felt like I wasn't gonna make it to the second round. But then when I received the email saying that I got to the second round, I felt more comfortable because then that was gonna be like a personal interview. And I feel like I can actually express myself better in like person than just talking to a lot of people.
Sounds like they matched it up well, because I kind of like that process because, you know, we put so much emphasis. Schools are funny. We talk about being out of the box thinkers, but then when it comes down to like colleges, they kind of look at like SATs and very traditional. And that not everybody learns that way, and not everybody expresses themselves that way. So it sounds like this process is able to kind of extract good qualities, leadership qualities, because you're gonna in college and in your career, it's really the ability to work together, be part of a team, and contribute, and draw the best out of each other. That's really what it's about, not necessarily how well you did on a standardized test. So, how was your when you looked at schools? You looked at Stanford. Where else did you look?
So, the thing about the Questbridge Scholars is that they're partners with 40 schools, so it's really incredible schools from all over the country, and all of them are binding, which means if you get in, you would have to go there except for 4 schools, Princeton, MIT, Stanford, and Yale. So a lot of people, when they rank their colleges, they put those 4 on the top only because if they happen to get in, then they wouldn't have to go and they can apply to other schools. So my first couple of choices was Yale, Stanford, Princeton, etc. And then I applied to like Dartmouth and some of the other Ivy Leagues. Not because I thought those were my only choices, but because I knew if I had to go to a school, I wanted to be fully committed, and those were the schools that I really wanted to go to. So I aimed high. Yeah.
Great. What was it about your experience at Malden High School that gave you the confidence or the background to really go to the next step? Pedro, you've only been here a couple of years, as you said, but what is it in the last year and a half for you?
I mean, getting to know people, I think like from Medford to Malden, when I got to know new people and I actually started speaking English, because in Medford I didn't learn that much. And then when I got here, I actually started speaking more, like I started talking to people, and I felt like I got more confident with my like learning English and stuff. I could like talk to more people. So I felt more confident, and when I got to that process, I felt like I could make more friends, and I don't know, I think it was like way easier like when I came here to
Terrific.
Malden.
Well, your English is fabulous, and you seem very confident in it, so great. Michelle, how about you? What about Malden High School?
I actually ended up transferring to Malden High School my sophomore year, and I came from a charter school called Pioneer Charter School of Science
in Everett,
2.
sure.
I actually went to the one in Saugus.
Oh,
that's
okay,
the sister school, yes.
Yep.
And definitely here at Malden High, they valued the arts a lot more.
Yep.
At the charter school, it was more based on science and math, which I was okay with, but I didn't get my serving of like music and theater. So coming into Malden High, I was introduced to our theater class, play production, and the choirs, and I think I definitely fell back in love into those studies. And then through that, I was able to gain more leadership skills and gain more confidence with, because in both choir and both play production, you deal with different types of people. Like they don't just do choir and play production. There are people who do sports. There are people who do speech and debate. There are people who are more shy. So it's like definitely that prepared me when working together with different types of people.
And I've seen you in both. I've seen you last week at the choral arts performance at the State House, and you have a concert coming up, I think on the 20th at the high school at 7 p.m. in Jenkins Auditorium. That's always a great event. And I've also seen you in the play production. So again, kind of going back to that posse scholarship, it's about teamwork, right?
Yes.
So good. Birukti, you've been very involved in a lot of extracurriculars. Why don't you talk about a couple of yours and how Malden High has sort of prepared you that way?
Okay, so Malden High is a very special place. I didn't go to other high schools, so I can't really compare it, but I know, like I have friends that go to Everett High School or Pioneer and other charter or Mystic Valley High School. And to me, I hold it very close to my heart because of not only the opportunities that it gave me, but the freedom that it gives you to like not only express yourself in the arts, but also start new clubs or just be a leader. They don't, Malden High, like the administration or the teachers, they don't constrict you to one thing or to one path. They just let you have your space to develop yourself. And so I was able to join so many things. Vice president of the speech and debate team, which I love. When we go to other places and we have tournaments, it's very different because the other students, they're coming from suburban high schools or maybe like more funded high schools, but even though we're not as funded, maybe, we still have those opportunities and we're still given the chance to go to those places. And we're pushed and encouraged to try new things. And so I really love about that. And also National Honor Society, like I'm an officer there, and it's really wonderful. We get to have projects for each person or each group, and we have like about 20, 30 projects that go on throughout the year, and it's really great. It offers the community, it offers students a way to give back to their community, and so many other things that Malden has given me.
Well, that's great, and I really believe in a student-centered philosophy of allowing young people to have as much experience and exposure to different things, whether it be sports or arts or civic organizations, creative programs. I think that's really important for our young people to sort of get involved at an early age and find themselves. Even here on our set, we have kids that are crewing this set that are in the movie club. So that's yet another way where they're able to get exposed to something. I grew up here in Malden. I'm a graduate of Malden High School. I was the first in my family to go to college, and I want to make sure that we have the exposure for our kids that many of our suburban counterparts get. So I think that that's important. I think that we've got that foundation in Malden and at the high school especially, because we want to encourage you guys to really realize your potential and get that confidence. And obviously with the three of you, it clicked because you've all been the recipients of major scholarships. Let's talk about some of the activities and activism, let's use it that way, that you guys have been involved in. Birukti, I know you and I got friendly last year because you were the student representative to the school committee.
Yes.
And you stepped down this year to kind of focus on academics, and I will say that it certainly paid off with that scholarship. But you also, we talked last year, there was a lot of things that went on for young people in this country, sadly, unfortunately, like with school shootings. And why don't you talk a little about what we did last year, what you did?
So after the Parkland shooting, a couple of friends and we organized a walkout of Malden High School students, and it was at 10:30ish, I think. It was at the time when the Parkland school that got shot up. We all walked out and we paid our respects, and we talked about gun violence and what things that we wish to be enforced in the government, and we stood beside them. So that was one of the things that I did. And then, but we wanted to go more than that, so I, along with another student at that time, he's graduated since, Harrison Zyberg.
Yep.
So we went to speak to Senator Jason Lewis to speak, to talk, to see if we can create a council, maybe to work with his office in order to bring these kinds of issues or things that we think are important in our community to the forefront. And so we created the Malden Youth Civics Council over the summer. Michelle and I are in it. I'm first chair, and she's the secretary of. She's the social media coordinator, actually.
Okay.
Sorry, she's the social media coordinator.
Which is important these days,
yes,
social media. Yes.
Yeah. So we're Malden Youth Civics Council. We've done that. We've held a workshop before the November election to get students engaged in voting, and we registered over 60 students from Malden High School. Some of them pre-registered, and some of them to register to vote in the November election. And we're hoping that the students who pre-registered can come to vote in the local election that's coming up this year, or the presidential election in 2020.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Good. And you had a voter registration drive with how many people, did you say?
The voter registration drive, so we registered over 60 students.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
and
fabulous.
Yeah, and this coming January, we're hoping to have an ice cream social, kind of meet your representatives kind of thing. It's going to be late January. We still haven't decided on a date yet, but yeah, and we've worked with the Malden Teen Enrichment Center, Kathy from the
Yep.
Teen Enrichment Center. She's
Kathy Mack,
amazing. Yep, she's given us so many opportunities. She's given us a place to have our workshops. So it's been really great.
Terrific. You have anything to add to that, Michelle? I know that you guys also have done things with the voter registration in Malden. You want to talk a little about that, or?
Definitely when Birukti and Harrison asked if I would be interested in the Civics Council, I was definitely intimidated at first, because definitely growing up I came from a more conservative culture where questioning like the already set rules was very frowned upon. So like politics have always been an iffy subject for me, definitely. Yep. But especially with like what's been going on lately and seeing like the student activism and actually like being able to experience it with other students, I think definitely that's given me more confidence with it. So definitely the Malden Youth Civics Council has definitely given me more confidence about voicing my opinions and standing with others.
Great, and there's a motion, I think, before the City Council about lowering the voting age for Malden elections to 16.
Yes.
How do you feel about that? Do you think that'll make an impact?
I think it would. I know some people are very hesitant about it. They're like, how are we going to let 16-year-olds vote? They can't do so many things. But I think the students that are educated enough to go out, to register to vote, to go to the polls, are informed about their representatives and who want to take part in local elections, I think they should be given a chance to, because I have a lot of friends who were 16 or 17 during the midterm election, and they really wish they could have a chance, or they turned 18 a couple of days after, and it's just really frustrating to just miss that by such a small, just a couple of days. So we hope that the Vote 16 initiative will get passed by the City Council and will be presented to the Malden community as a referendum.
I think it's great. I've been on the record publicly as supporting it, because I think it's important to get our young people involved early. I think that you have our local representatives here in Malden have a direct impact on you, whether it's the school committee creating policy or City Council. So I think it would be terrific for you guys to be the forefront of getting that movement, and I think it would only create momentum to get more young people, especially when you guys get over in the 18 to 30 range, which is typically not voted well, which should. They don't have really any excuse to not. So I think it would be great. Let's talk about Malden High School. We've got, we often hear in Malden, and particularly the high school, about the diversity. And diversity is great. We've got the most diverse high school in Massachusetts. We have so many different languages and cultures. But what does that mean to you folks? I mean, you are all from different cultures and countries, speak another language. What is that like? Pedro, let's talk about you. You're probably the expert here, because you've been in 3 high schools in 4 years, but you've come from another country. How did you find Malden High School when you came here?
So I felt really comfortable because I actually had people to talk to.
Yep.
I didn't have to force myself to learn, but at the same time I wanted to learn. So I could speak my language, I could keep my culture, but at the same time I learned so much with our other diversities that we have.
Michelle, how about you? You came from another high school too. How did you find the transition here to Malden?
Yes, definitely, like, the diversity is just so comforting. Like, you don't feel like an outsider because everyone is just so different, but they come together and they share everything about their culture. And I just love learning about different cultures, different religions, different people and their different experiences. So having a diverse group of students to go through high school with is definitely a blessing, really.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, it gives you guys a distinct advantage when you go off to college or into the workplace because the world has gotten smaller. You know, we are much more diverse and hopefully inclusive, although, you know, sometimes we see that much of the country isn't embracing that. But I think when you guys go out into the world with your Malden experience, you can show how positive that's been. Birukti, how about you? How have you found? How long have you been in Malden schools?
So I came here when I was 8 years old. I came from Ethiopia when I was 8 years old.
Okay.
So I was born there, and I've been in the Malden school since then. So I went to Fairway School, and I've been at Malden High since a freshman year. And it's exactly like what Michelle said. It's just this comfort. It's knowing like I can walk through the halls or I can walk in the streets and no one will look at me differently, which is very different because I've been to places maybe outside of Malden when we go to tournaments or cross-country races, and it's just the schools are very white or just one group of kids, and they look at you differently because not really mean-spirited, but they just never seen that before, and so everyone's first comment is like, oh wow, you guys are so diverse, and sometimes it gets like just a little bit irritating when it's like when they keep saying that, but it's also I know it's because they haven't got to experience that, and I wish so many people could, but it's just knowing that I could just go everywhere and no one's gonna look at me differently. It's that feeling, and it's kind of scary because I know once I leave Malden High School, I will have a lot to bring to the table with other people, but I will be looked at differently there. And so there's that fear because Malden has been my home for such a long time, and I am so comfortable here, and leaving it, especially to California, if I choose to go to Stanford, it's a little bit scary. But
although I think it'll be very diverse there,
and
I think you'll find it pretty welcoming as well.
Okay.
So I'm optimistic about all three of you guys. Let's talk about school, your favorite subjects, and how they have kind of shaped what you want to do. Pedro, you talked about you want to go into engineering.
Yes.
What do you like at school? What are your favorite subjects?
Okay, so for me it's physics.
Yep.
Probably most of people that know me, they know that I really love physics.
And who's your teacher?
Morrison.
Mr. Morrison? Okay, yeah.
So he's really nice, and like I love like the class, like all the classwork that we have. So I got really interested in physics last year when I got to like do AP Physics 1. And then also I'm focusing on math and also chemistry because I know like the engineering part, I have to focus on all the science and technology part. So I really love it, like all of it, science.
Terrific. Michelle?
At Center College, I plan to actually major in theater.
Oh, wow.
Which is very different from my parents because both of them are nurses.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
And back when I was at the charter school, I did think that I'd want to be a nurse. Like, it wouldn't be bad. And then when I came to Malden High, definitely being reintroduced into performing arts, I definitely fell in love with it again. But there's also a pre-nursing program over a pre-professional program at Center, so that gives my parents a little bit more comfort.
Maybe yeah.
But yeah, I do plan on going into theater and learning more from that.
So you both are following your passion so far. Birukti, do you know what you want to major in? Or?
I also have a love for science.
Yep.
I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, you're not going to be a politician. But you
can do both.
I know that is open to me. I know I do want to go into the medical field. I want to be a doctor.
Okay.
I've always wanted to be a surgeon, but I'm opening my mind a little bit. Maybe pediatrician. Again, like I've had amazing science and math teachers, Mr. Morrison, Miss Haskell, and they've made me fall in love with not only like the math aspect, but also the science and just discovering how to do things and just opening us to that. Actually, recently we went to a science competition. It's called Women in Science, and it's held at Bedford High School, and Mr. Morrison took a group of students there, and we were able to build things. We were able to compete in trivia and chemistry, biology, physics, and it was just really fun, and it made me it just made me fall in love with it more. And also I want to do creative writing minor. That's what.
Terrific. So you want to use your creativity and your passion. You are all graduating seniors, and I hope to have you back maybe in the in the spring when we do our farewell show. But what advice would you give incoming ninth graders? You know, we have freshmen there, and they look up to you guys. I know when I came to high school, I looked up to the upperclassmen because, you know, they've gone through it, and sometimes they say, well, don't do this, I made this mistake. But Pedro, what advice would you give incoming freshmen?
All right, so for me, personally, I feel like I didn't do sports and I didn't do clubs. So I felt really bad because I feel like I didn't enjoy my high school years. Because it's not because I wanted, it was because all the changes, I didn't have any choice.
Yep.
So, but if I could tell someone to do something, I would tell to do sports and clubs. It's so fun.
Find your passion, so to speak. Okay. Michelle, you certainly would adhere to that advice. You did when you came here. You got right into theater, into the music, the choral arts program. What else would you give advice?
I would also tell underclassmen to start building strong relationships with your teachers.
Yep.
I think definitely what got me through high school was having that support system and being close to my choral arts director, Mr. Cole, and my directors, Mr. Walsh and Miss Clapp this year, and Miss Lipkin from last year for theater. It's having that type of support and having adults that you can trust and who know what you're going through since they see you almost every day.
Yep.
It's definitely a different support system that you really want, especially once you're getting recommendation letters. You definitely want someone.
Well, they want to know the whole person, right? And I mean, I think sometimes in those extracurricular, whether it be sports or theater or arts or clubs, they see you outside of the classroom. Right. I mean, I think that's kind of what it is. Sometimes it's, you know, I've had students in the past who had to work a lot, and their bosses at work were very good references because they saw how they interact. They saw how they were at problem solving, and, you know, you see the work ethic and the dedication and the maturity. So good. Birukti, what would you say to ninth graders? People look up to you. You're an officer.
I would say to take advantage of the opportunities that are available at Malden High School. So many schools, they have maybe 10 clubs or just certain electives, but we have so many AP classes. We have so many extra classes that we can take with Bunker Hill. We have I think 50 or something clubs. We have so many activities that we can get involved in, and we can make change in our community. And I would tell them to not be scared, not only to join, but to get leadership positions, to go outside their school or their comfort zone and to impact their community, because Malden, there are about 60,000 people, and that seems a lot, but when you go outside, it's a very small and close-knit community. And I think to go and reach out to people and to familiarize yourself with the city is just an incredible opportunity, and I think that's what I recommend they do.
That's terrific. I couldn't have said it better. I always tell our incoming freshmen, get involved, find something you love, make school more than just your classes, and follow your dreams, and make it so that it's uncomfortable. Get out of your comfort zone, because that's when you grow. So terrific. Well, I want to thank all three of you for being here. You guys have been, I think, inspirational for me, and certainly I'm sure the community, when they see this, will sit there and say, wow, this is what Malden High School can do, and this is what happens when we have dedicated educators like we do in Malden, and students who are really looking to take advantage of that. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I'd just like to remind everybody, wish everyone a happy and healthy holiday season and a happy and healthy new year. I'd also like to direct people to our website, maldenps.org. On there you can see a link to a commercial the Department of Education did here in Malden featuring our students and our teachers that really highlights how our educators go above and beyond and connect with our students on many levels, I think, as our guests here can attest to. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at Malden Public. We make announcements there. We're into the school cancellation season, which I'm sure these guys are hoping for as many snow days as we can as seniors, because they don't have to make them up. Personally, I'm hoping that I get some sleep this winter on our snow days and don't have too many to make. But also, along the lines, we have a couple great performances coming up at Malden High School. On December 13th is the instrumental performance, and on the 20th, we have the 12th is the instrumental performance at Malden High School, and on the 20th is the choral arts concert, which is fabulous. Both events are certainly worth going to in this time of season, where I know everybody's busy, but they really are very rewarding. I'd like to thank our crew here, the Malden High School Movie Club, also our producer, the extraordinary Haley Howe. Welcome back, and we look forward to seeing you on our January show. So thank you very much.